Ever crossed your mind that you never know who you're standing next to in the street?
Funny you should say that. Today, I stood next to probably the worst madman of the decade.
Who?
Dr. Frederick Brandt. Remember him?
Yes, I do. But where did you see him? Not in the street, surely?
Well, of course not. I had to call at the asylum today to discuss a new plumbing installation. I passed him in the exercise yard.
Name rings a bell, but I can't place it.
Well, he's a doctor who caused an absolute furore in the medical world about 5 years ago with some fantastic and devilish notion he had about transplanting people's brains. Putting them from one person into another. And he claimed that anyone undergoing such surgery could survive. Absolute claptrap.
I seem to recall that another fellow had the same idea at the same time. The foreigner. Oh dear. What was his name now?
Frankenstein. Baron Frankenstein. Lived in Bohemia.
That's the one. They were both run out of the medical profession, weren't they?
That's right. And Frankenstein was run out of his country as well. The church in particular pilloried him. The devil's disciples, the pair of them. Of course, it was the work that Brandt was engaged on that sent him mad, you know. Well, it must have been.
Excuse me. I didn't know that you were doctors.
Doctors? We're not doctors.
I beg your pardon. I thought you knew what you were talking about. You're damn rude, sir. I'm afraid that stupidity always brings out the worst in me.
Stupidity?
Yes, stupidity. It is fools like you who have blocked progress throughout the ages. You make pronouncements on half-facts that you don't understand anyway.
I find your tone and manner highly objectionable, sir. But if you wish to involve yourself in an argument about it, pray, explain the word progress in this context.
You wouldn't understand it. But I will give you a parallel that you may just appreciate. Had man not been given to invention and experiment, then tonight, sir, you would have eaten your dinner in a cave. You would have strewn the bones about the floor, and then wiped your fingers on a coat of animal skin. In fact, your lapels do look somewhat greasy. Good night.
A modern-day remake of Matthew Vaughn's Lay a Kick, a Coen Brothers stand up with Timothy Chalamet. A Citizen Kane prequel, a Midnight Cowboy sequel, Alvin and the Chipmunks deserve another squeakquel. There's so many new ways to revisit sideways, but a graphic novel is how we choose to update. But we still hold fast, you can't change the past on the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
In 2013, the Indiana Medical History Museum in Indianapolis was the central focus of a peculiar crime. This monument to the birth of psychiatric research was built in 1895 as a state-of-the-art facility for medical research. The two-story brick building featured a 150-seat teaching amphitheater, morgue, research facilities, library, and small but not insignificant anatomical museum, which these days could be called the scene of the crime, for this is where a 21-year-old boy by the name of David Charles broke in and stole human brains to sell on the internet. Yo, I got a bunch of human brains in jars for sale, HMU for details, you know you want one for Halloween, reads an October 14th, 2013 Facebook post published by Charles. But it was a bloody fingerprint, concerned eBay purchaser, and a sting operation in a Dairy Queen parking lot that landed Charles in the back of a cop car. His sentence, 1 year of home detention, 2 years of probation, and a requirement to obtain a high school diploma or GED certificate. Our sentence, Frankenstein must be destroyed. Greetings, Starfighters. This is Ruined Childhoods. I'm John, joined as always by my brother Dan. In this episode, we're talking about the 1969 Hammer Films Frankenstein that wrapped up Peter Cushing's run as the brain-stealing mad scientist. Dan, which is your favorite Frankenstein film and why is it Monster Squad?
Why is it Monster Squad? Because for so many reasons, it's Monster Squad. Thank you for saving me the, I don't know, couple of seconds that it would have taken me to kind of run through the couple of options. And
do you have a second favorite? I don't know.
A second favorite Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein. There we go. Yeah.
There it is.
That's
so
obvious. Yeah.
Why is it Monster Squad? Check out our Monster Squad episode in the archives.
Yeah.
And yeah, from a long time ago. So
long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guarantee you my feelings have not changed, and I am quite
Nor
fond
would I
of that
expect
film.
them to.
So
Great
what's
film.
I mean, do we need to say anything? Tom Noonan, by the way, who played the creature in that. And we love Tom Noonan. We talked about Tom Noonan, Last Action Hero, and
Last Action Hero, of course.
Many other movies
He's
that
in
we've never talked
RoboCop
about.
2.
Oh,
but we didn't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We talked about RoboCop. We talked about RoboCop 1.
We
Did
did
we
the
talk about
RoboCop
RoboCop 2?
movies. We talked about all of them. Yes.
Did
Yes.
we really?
We
well,
sure
then fantastic.
did.
He is the nuke distributor.
He's
That's
magnificent.
the bad guy from RoboCop 2.
He's magnificent in everything, and as the creature in Monster Squad.
Right.
Who ends well? I don't want to ruin it for anyone who's never seen Monster Squad. I'm not going to say anything because we're not talking about Monster Squad. We're talking about Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. And in this one, we're not. In this one, we're referencing the man, not the creature.
Right, because in this one, the creature is kind of like, I guess technically there is a creature, but everybody has names, so it's a bit of an outlier as far as Frankenstein, as far as what you think of a Frankenstein film.
Right. Yeah, it's more of it's less of a reanimation. It's less of a man on a mission to reanimate a deceased body.
Yeah.
Using a preserved brain that they did not buy off of Craigslist or Facebook or wherever.
I'd say that this movie is closer to like Tammy and the T-Rex than it is to like the classic Frankenstein story.
Wow. Good call on that.
Thank you.
Totally check that one out.
Thank you.
Season was that was last season, right? Wait.
Tammy and the T-Rex are going up and down the alphabet. So
that was our first
team
movie,
season.
I think. It was one of our team movies, definitely a team movie there, Tammy and the T-Rex.
Such an enjoyable movie. My goodness. But, it's all about taking the brain and putting it into a different body.
Right.
Yeah.
That old gag.
Yeah. And so this is like I said earlier, it's part of the Hammer Films catalog of horror movies. And
Please Hammer
Films
hurt him. Please Hammer hurt him a lot.
Yeah. So Hammer Films, I mean, they started, in like the 30s, and they did a lot of those like, noir-y detective mystery movies and things like that. Very run of the mill. And then this, I think, was maybe the first of the like monster movies. Well, not this. Curse of Frankenstein was the first in basically the run of all of the different, Draculas and mummies and abominable snowmen and things like that.
Right.
There were some
monsters,
thrillers, but like monster movies. This Curse of Frankenstein.
Curse of Frankenstein. Yeah. That was the big one.
And Peter Cushing's first starring role.
Yeah, which, for people of an age, that being mine and probably yours, Peter Cushing is Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever. I know I've seen. Top Secret. He's in Top Secret. That may have been the first time that I was like truly aware of him. But certainly, the Star Wars was really everybody's big introduction of a new generation. But for a while, he was just working away doing these Hammer films. He was in a million of them. In the Dracula ones, he was Van Helsing.
Right. He was he was Victor Frankenstein 6 times, Dr. Van Helsing 5 times, and then he did other movies as well. I'm looking at just a list of names of people who were in the kind of Hammer company of actors, the troupe, if you will.
Yeah.
So all right, of course, Christopher Lee.
Yeah. Who I didn't realize was like best friends with Peter Cushing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really sweet.
Yeah. It's funny because I was watching this movie and thinking about the era of this movie and the production of it. And it's kind of like American movies at a certain time, you're like, oh, how much cocaine was there on this set, or how much weed were they smoking on this set? And with these, it's always like, what was the liquor budget?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But so you have Christopher Lee in there, Michael Gough. I don't know if I'm Gough, who, if I'm pronouncing it right, who of course people of a certain age, that being ours, would recognize as Alfred from the Michael Keaton Batman movies. Well, and Val Kilmer and George Clooney.
Val Kilmer, yeah.
Yeah, he was there for all of them. Another Star Wars veteran, David Prowse, who was the physical component of Darth Vader.
Right. Who was he in the original
Hammer trilogy?
films?
He was in the Horror of Frankenstein, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. He played the monster in Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell and the Horror of Frankenstein. So it makes sense. He was, physically imposing. I also know him and, could think of what he actually looks like from A Clockwork Orange. He plays the assistant to the writer after he's been attacked. And
right.
So Oliver Reed is in this. I think he was also in Oliver.
You know what? I just real quick.
Yeah.
I said earlier that Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed was Peter Cushing's final Frankenstein film. I guess I must have missed Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell from '74.
Oh yeah. I couldn't remember how many he had done. I know this one is the fourth in the series, I think.
Well, no, probably the sixth, because there was The Curse of Frankenstein in '57, The Revenge of Frankenstein in '58, The Evil of Frankenstein in '64, Frankenstein Created Woman in '67, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed in '69.
All right, so that one's
and then,
5.
Yeah, so this would have been the sixth one.
And then he skips
Unless
the
I'm missing
Horror of
another one.
Frankenstein. He skips out on the Horror of Frankenstein, and Ralph Bates plays young Victor Frankenstein.
Got it.
And that's one with David Prowse in it. And then we come back in Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, right, in '74, where it's like Victor Frankenstein who's, hiding out and up to his old tricks.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen any of the other Hammer film Frankenstein movies?
I have not. No, have you?
Okay. Only The Curse of Frankenstein, which is your traditional Frankenstein story. It's,
I want to watch
him
that
as a
one.
kid, and then, he kind of has this tutor, and then as they work together over the years, they both kind of have this idea to resurrect a body, and, Victor Frankenstein takes it too far, and the other one, kind of bails on him and is freaked out by him, and he's supposed to marry his cousin, and there's like a lot of weird stuff in it, but ultimately creates the monster, which is Christopher Lee,
right.
And then of course it's what's actually really funny is, Dan, did you see the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so it's the same thing where it starts at the end and it goes back to the beginning, and he's telling the story, but this one he's in a jail cell telling the story. So it's just funny where it's just like, that device. How many Frankenstein movies use that device?
Well, the Brana Frankenstein, did you see that one?
I have not seen the Brana Frankenstein. I'm not a big Brana fan.
I saw that in the theater. I saw the Brana Frankenstein one in the theater. I haven't really seen it since. I remember one of the friends, this was my senior year in high school, and one of the friends that I was with at some point, there's like a ripping out of a heart, and she couldn't take it anymore. Like she left, or I don't remember if she came back in. We did not.
Interesting.
Leave. But I remember, and then Tom Hulce was in that one. John Cleese, Robert De Niro is the creature, the creation.
Right.
Of course, Helena Bonham Carter, because that was those years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do like Kenneth Branagh. I really appreciate his takes on Shakespeare. They were.
He appreciates his takes on Shakespeare.
Well,
I feel like he's so up his own ass for so much of that.
Have I not talked about the production of? I'm not in a theater. I can say it. Macbeth.
Oh,
have I not spoken about the production of Macbeth that I saw him do at the
I don't remember.
Fifth Avenue Armory in New York City,
Okay.
when I am a language arts teacher, and when I was living and working in New York, the school I worked at had a partnership with the Fifth Avenue Armory, so we would get tickets to productions. And they could do very unique productions there. I had been to them before, saw an opera, and the seats that we were on, like the whole unit of seats moved back and forth. Like they moved. It wasn't like 4DX, but it was like it would move forward for certain sequences and then would pull back to like reveal this runway for other sequences. So like you could do really cool stuff like that. I saw this great production about Kasparov and Deep Blue there as well. And we saw this Kenneth Branagh production of Macbeth, and the seating style is best described as like stadium seating, and there were two sides, and as you came in, we were all divided in different houses that we were part of. And the whole show starts with a battle on a rainy, muddy battlefield, and sure enough, they produced a rainstorm in the middle, in the like playing area. And it was, you could compare it to medieval times if medieval times was incredibly realistic. And it was they came out and they were the whole ground as you came, like you walked in through like the foggy moors, and it was really eerie, and you really got into it, and it was really cool. And I think that's a hard play of his to read, but when you see a production like that, there's no mistaking what's happening. So
I'm not saying that Kenneth Branagh doesn't have the chops. I'm just saying I can feel his ego in every single one of his performances or movies that he directs or anything like that.
You're not going to like his Frankenstein, because I think his Frankenstein might be the most up his own ass movie he has made.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, all due respect to, I haven't seen Belfast, but like I'm just making assumptions here.
So anyway, going back to Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed and the Curse of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I do hope that you watch the Curse of Frankenstein, because it's interesting to see the evolution of production value and story between that span of 5 movies. To see kind of where things went to. And one of the things that I really appreciated about Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, and you and I actually happened to watch the ending of it together. We had that opportunity, which was really nice, and I was kind of reserving my comments during this time because in the climax of the film, the music is really, really fantastic.
Oh yeah.
It's extremely exciting. The visual effects are stunning. There's just that amazing real fire that you don't see anymore. Yes. And it's absolutely incredible. And also it's like, I'm so glad that they didn't harken back to the traditional Frankenstein story where fire is this scary thing. It's this own thing, and the way that the fire comes about is really amazing, because the idea is that the creation that he has made, the person that he has swapped brains with, and everything to kind of just to kind of experiment, I guess, see if he could do it, is trying to kill Frankenstein, kill the Dr. Frankenstein.
Well, yeah.
And it's done so well. It's so cool. The sets are amazing. The sets in The Curse of Frankenstein are very basic, and there's a lot of like painted backdrop type stuff. Oh. Whereas in this one, I feel like it's kind of built from scratch in a lot of ways. In a way that really works. And I mean, there's a 10-year difference, but 12-year difference between the two.
Yeah.
So, a lot changes in cinema as well. And so it's really fantastic. But Dan, why don't you give a little synopsis and then we'll really talk about Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Well, this is as little a synopsis as I could give for this.
Great.
Baron Victor Frankenstein, after decapitating a doctor and breaking into his lab, rents a room at a London boarding house run by landlady Anna Spangler. Anna's cherubic fiancé, Carl Holst, is a doctor at the asylum where Victor's former assistant, Dr. Frederick Brandt, was committed after going insane. Victor, seeking a secret formula for an experiment known only to Dr. Brandt, sees an opening when he discovers that Carl has been stealing narcotics to help his ailing mother-in-law-to-be. Victor reveals his true identity and blackmails Carl into helping him kidnap Brandt so he can get the secret formula of his experiment. Things continue to go Victor's way when he and Carl get caught by a warehouse guard while stealing lab equipment, and Carl ends up stabbing the guard, giving Victor even more dirt and more to hold over Carl. The plan does hit a snag when Brandt has a heart attack, just a slight inconvenience because now Victor and Carl have to kidnap the asylum's administrator, Professor Richter, so they can transplant Brandt's brain into his body, which they do. Soon after, Brandt's wife, Ella, recognizes Victor in the street and confronts him about her husband's kidnapping. Ever the Baron of Riz, Victor assures her he has cured her husband's mental illness, but does not let her see him. Once the Brandt brain awakes and realizes what has happened, he escapes and seeks out Ella at their home, but after she refuses to accept him and flees, he awaits his creator to help teach him a final lesson about what happens when you steal fire from the gods. And as Baron Victor Frankenstein, Peter Cushing, of course, as Dr. Carl Holst, Simon Ward, as Professor Richter, a.k.a. The Creature, we have Freddie Jones. Veronica Carlson plays Anna Spangler. We have, I said him already. George Pravda as Dr. Frederick Brandt. Maxine Audley as Ella. Thorley Walters as Inspector Frisch. I really enjoyed him.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine that we see a lot of these actors pop up in the Hammer films. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's part of what makes me want to watch more, just kind of like knowing that this is like a company. It's like, like the Christopher Guest movies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that even a better comparison would be like, Ed Wood and his merry band of performers.
Much closer.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to say first is Simon Ward, who plays Dr. Carl Holst. First of all, the most British looking guy in the 60s you can possibly imagine. He's all mod and he just has that like British face, and
he's got like a Michael York. He's got like a Michael York.
But what's funny is like you and I were watching the end of it together, and you even said something about some people just like look. What is it about some people that just makes them look British? I was just like, I don't know if he's talking about Simon Ward, but that's who I've been thinking of this whole time. And he looks so much like Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things. Where it's like, I see him in Stranger Things, and I'm just like, this British man does not live in like Indiana or wherever Stranger Things takes place. Like, this is clearly a British person. Why are you trying to pretend like this is not a British person? It's kind of like how every time I see Toni Collette, I'm like, this person is from Australia. I don't care what that accent is trying to tell me. That person is an Australian person. Those cheekbones and the mouth structure, that's an Australian face.
I never knew if I felt that way because my first exposure to her was in Muriel's Wedding.
Right.
And I just knew she was Australian.
Hugo Weaving is an Australian face.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. But again, I think my first exposure to Hugo Weaving was might have been Priscilla Queen of the Desert.
I know that you know that they're Australian, But what I'm saying is anytime that they're playing like an American,
Yeah.
it's just like, stop pretending like you're American. You're clearly Australian. I can tell from your face.
Is there an actor that you can think of that you didn't know was Australian, but that you assumed was Australian purely based on their, I guess their appearance?
I'd have to think about that one for a while, because there are definitely Australians that don't necessarily look Australian. Like Chris Hemsworth, like I don't get Australian from him just by looking at him.
There's that kind of like, there's that kind of hotness. There's that certain, and this is so superficial. I'm so sorry. But like, there's a certain sense of Australian hotness that it applies to Nicole Kidman, Naomi Watts, Russell Crowe,
Nicole Kidman, I don't
Heath
think...
Ledger. R.I.P.
So Nicole Kidman, I don't think that she has really that Australian look, but
No.
I always hear a little bit of Australian in her voice when
Let me out of the car, Cole. Let me out of the car, Cole. I just think of Days of Thunder, and she doesn't sound exactly like that, but that's let me out of the car.
And that was probably like so early on that
she's also
she
playing an Australian.
a harder time. Well,
yeah,
she has.
I don't think she was pretending. No, but I know what you mean. It comes out. It always,
even when
tends
she's
to come
got
out
an American accent. Yeah. So anyway, Simon Ward looks like Charlie Heaton. I love him in this movie. I think that he's fantastic. I love the character of Holst and how Frankenstein is able to blackmail him, because of the drugs. I think he's got cocaine for her.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like cocaine, morphine, or like what was...
So I couldn't remember, was he stealing drugs to give to Anna's mother, or was he stealing drugs to sell to be able to afford care for Anna's mother?
Oh, was he not stealing the drugs for her?
I think that he was selling them, but I could be mistaken. It's been a minute since I watched that scene.
Yes.
But anyway, it doesn't necessarily matter. He was still stealing drugs, and that's not okay. It was enough for him to be scared of the blackmail enough to help Frankenstein with what he was doing. Who
intent to distribute would have been the charge, not just possession.
Yeah, and Frankenstein,
so Scotland Yard. That's
right. And so I haven't seen the movies in between The Curse of Frankenstein and this one, but it's like he is just truly a bad guy in this. I feel like in the first one, he's, he has an obsession, and he's just like working hard to like do this one thing that he's set out to do. But in this one, he's like, he sexually assaults Anna. He's just like straight up, and of course all the blackmailing and everything. He's just straight up a bad dude.
Oh yeah. Evil, narcissistic, pure. Driven purely by his own interests, cannot stop, will not let anyone or anything get in his way.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that the 1964 film, The Evil of Frankenstein, just by the title alone, tells me that they've explored this part of him before. Because, like, in the Curse of Frankenstein and basically every traditional Frankenstein story, what are you owing?
Well, I'm looking at a little synopsis here of The Evil of Frankenstein, and it looks like in this we have kind of a dual villain, because so the synopsis is Dr. Frankenstein returns destitute to his home village to recommence his experimental research into the reanimation of dead tissue, and stumbles upon his old monster suspended in ice. Though he revives the creature, Frankenstein must seek the help of hypnotist Zoltan.
Whoa, Zoltan.
To repair its mind.
Fascinating.
Zoltan then assumes control of the monster, using him to wreak havoc. But when Frankenstein tries to regain power over his creation, he becomes Zoltan's next target.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Wow, okay.
And then after that comes
wild.
Frankenstein created women.
Right.
Which does not seem to be connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just seems like he just goes from place to place and ruins the lives of everyone that he comes into contact with, and
So
is evil, and he must be destroyed.
So what's interesting to me also is like, and I don't think that this is really giving too much away because these movies have been around for a long time and also it doesn't really matter, not super relevant to the story of Victor Frankenstein, but in the curse, at the end of the Curse of Frankenstein, you see the silhouette of a guillotine coming down. You are led to believe that he is beheaded, that he is executed. And at the end of Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, you are led to believe that Frankenstein has been destroyed. So I don't know if he is killed at the end of every single movie, and then it's just like, he can't be destroyed.
There we have the blueprint, the template for what's to come, a little bit over a decade later with Friday the 13th. Halloween. So not even a decade. Depending on from which, Halloween comes out in 78. And then you've got you have Michael Myers. You could even point to Jaws, but really more so these Halloween, at Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, where at the end of each one, we get the impression that they've been destroyed, but they find a way back. And sometimes, there's like the connective thread between a lot of those movies can be very loose. In terms of, compared to what Hammer did with Frankenstein, where you can watch one of these movies independently of the rest of the series, and is there anything that, having seen The Curse of Frankenstein, did you watch that one first, or?
No, I watched it second.
Did it add to your understanding of Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed at all?
I wouldn't say it added to my understanding of it, but it helped paint a broader picture of the Hammer Films Frankenstein experience.
Right.
And it made me appreciate Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed because I see a movie that certainly could be, I don't know, brushed aside and kind of given just like the okay, this is easy money where we don't have to pay too much attention to it treatment. But Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, like, like I said before, the music, the visual effects, like the sets, like everything was done, to its best level, I would say at that point. Yeah. And I was really impressed by that, especially for a Frankenstein story that veers so heavily from the original text. And, it's just like expanding on the world of this person, and I just really, it made me appreciate the movie more. I feel like we've seen so many Frankenstein Genesis movies that it is kind of nice to see something else that's kind of continuing on. That's why I'm excited about The Bride, which comes out this year, because it's like, it's a completely fresh movie that isn't building on something that already that's having to exist before that from the same like team or anything. It's its own separate thing.
Well, I was wondering if there was any connection to the one from the 80s with Sting and Jennifer Beals, Sting the singer.
You just mean that? Is it like a studio thing? Like, what makes you think that they're connected?
Is it loosely based on that? I don't know. I know Maggie Gyllenhaal is the director.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, Jesse Buckley, Christian Bale.
And it has a very punk rock vibe. The little bit I've seen of it looks, like there's a lab set up in an abandoned subway station. And it's got a very cool vibe to it. That seems to be the aesthetic of it.
I mean, the title itself has an exclamation point in it.
Right.
And the tagline is, "Here comes the motherfucking bride."
Like, it looks like a lot of fun.
It says that it draws inspiration from the 1935 Bride of Frankenstein, but it doesn't. I mean, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia, but nothing says anything about any sort of other, connection to another Frankenstein property.
Because they did one in the 80s that I think was very gothic in tone.
I mean, I'm sure that there are so many Frankenstein-y movies that there's bound to be some sort of tonal crossover between them. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising that it's not the first time that somebody's trying to do some sort of like punk rock Frankenstein story.
No, this was not punk rock. This was very much set in like the period. It's gothic, and the appearance. It looks like this is very traditional. Like they were. I don't know if they were like going for Oscars or what the deal was. Well, it was released in August in the United States. So I don't August 1985.
Yeah,
and with Sting as Baron Charles Frankenstein. Carrie Elwes is an early. Carrie Elwes is in there. Clancy Brown plays the monster.
Oh, all you had to say was Clancy Brown is, and then you can be like, oh, that's the monster.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Oh, the big dude is playing a monster. The creature.
I do like Clancy Brown.
I like Clancy Brown too.
Yeah.
All
right. So back to Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Yeah. So was it? I'm trying to remember because it's like, okay, the brain goes into which body? The body that's at the end, is that Professor Richter's body, or is that Brant? So that's Richter's body. So that's played by Freddie Jones. Of David Lynch's Dune, the brain,
and the Elephant Man.
It's Frederick Brandt's brain,
right,
inside of Richter's body, and played by Freddie Jones, who I thought was fantastic.
Yep.
And also I thought the makeup was really great that they had to kind of show the stitching around the skull.
Oh, except all I could think is when he's pulling off all the bandages and everything, I was like, oh, does that not hurt? I mean, maybe it doesn't because maybe he doesn't feel, I don't know if maybe he doesn't feel pain.
I couldn't tell you what the experience of somebody going through that is like.
I mean, I don't know. I've had surgery before, not on my, and not that serious, and hours afterwards. Oh, how? Oh, I cringe thinking about it.
Yeah. It's a treat. This movie is just a real treat. I really appreciate it.
It is.
I think that it's one that should be, checked out if you haven't seen it yet.
It's fun. It is
fun.
Yeah.
It makes me want to watch more of the Hammer films.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ones that I've ever been necessarily drawn to, but
right.
I don't know. I have like a greater appreciation for Peter Cushing, who, in reading more and more about him, the more I just see people's stories about him just being like this awesome guy.
He objected to the rape scene, according to Wikipedia.
To the assault scene. He is just like a very giving person and very light and not at all like a lot of the characters that he plays. And seeing all that made me really, really appreciate him, and makes me want to go back and just watch more of his stuff, because, going into it, really only having seen him in Star Wars and Top Secret.
Right.
It's kind of just like, oh yeah, there's way more to this guy than I even realize. Way more, way more.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had a long career. So
very long career. Yeah.
A lot to, when was he active? Early career. So it looks like 30s. And I always imagined that he was like up for the role of Robin Hood against Errol Flynn, and he didn't get it. And he was like, you know what? He's like, if I can't be Robin Hood in the Robin Hood movie, I am going to be the antithesis of Robin Hood in everything else I do. I know that's not at all true.
He got his start in 1939 in The Man in the Iron Mask.
Yeah.
And acted all the way through, let's see, 1983, Tales of the Unexpected. That's, let's see, that's television.
Oh, he was in
86.
He was in the
in 86. He was in Biggles, Adventures in Time.
Oh,
but that's not too long after. Yep, he is Air Commodore William Raymond. Yes, of course, Biggles, Adventures in Time, with Neil Dixon, Alex Hyde White, and of course Peter Cushing in his final role. Sword of the Valiant.
Okay, so here's some movies of his.
I've seen the poster for this one, but I've never actually watched it.
I gotta check out Laurence Olivier's Hamlet. I've never seen it. And Peter Cushing plays, it looks like Osiric, or Osric in that, which is kind of a smaller role, but a featured role. He's in the John Huston 1952 Moulin Rouge.
Okay, right.
No connection to the Baz Luhrmann.
Correct.
Moulin Rouge. And yeah, so he did a TV adaptation of 1984. Looks like for the BBC, which sounds like that would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the original film adaptation of The End of the Affair, which was remade in 99 by Neil Jordan.
Yeah, the Cush has got the goods.
Seriously, Cush, the original.
Yeah, and also just like thinking about his Hammer films. So you mentioned just like the Frankenstein and the Dracula ones, but after Curse of Frankenstein, he was in the Abominable Snowman, The Horror of Dracula, Revenge of Frankenstein, Hound of the Baskervilles, The Mummy, The Brides of Dracula, Sword of Sherwood Forest, Cash on Demand. So okay, there you go. There's some Sherwood Forest for you.
I think I might have seen one of his like Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
But he played Nottingham. Okay, great. I'm like, he had to have played Nottingham at some Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
What a great role for him.
Cash on Demand, Night Creatures, The Evil of Frankenstein, The Gorgon, She, Frankenstein Created Woman, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, The Vampire Lovers, Twins of Evil, Dracula AD 1972, Fear in the Night, The Satanic Rites of Dracula, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, and 1974's Shatter.
It's great. That like to
what
have
a
a
run.
gig like that, and know that. I mean, man, and he must have loved it. I mean, clearly he did it.
Yeah,
he kept doing it.
You know,
and it must have. I'm sure, like he probably didn't. They probably all filmed in London, which is also great. Like movies like this, because so much of London, especially at that time, was still preserved and very easy to make it look the way it did in, the mid 19th century.
Yeah.
So like what a fantastic regular gig.
Yeah. Totally. Well, Dan, I think it would be foolish to try and go over every single Frankenstein adaptation or retelling or reimagining or fan fiction or whatever you want to call anything, which is, one of the things that we do on the show is talking about the legacies of the movies. And I don't know if necessarily anything was inspired directly by Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, but perhaps it will have inspired you to do something. Dan, what would you do given the opportunity to do something in the Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed world?
Oh boy. So, and I wanted to mention, and we talked about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, but we need to also mention Crimson Peak, which is kind of a throwback to the Hammer, like especially the sets and what you see in this movie. Crimson Peak. Have you seen Crimson Peak?
I haven't seen Crimson Peak, no.
If you like that vibe, that gothic horror vibe, it's really cool. It's fun. Tom Hiddleston, Mia Wasilewska, and Jessica Chastain.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's really, and I think there were a couple like that he also produced around the same time that were meant to be, but like Crimson Peak really is a throwback to this style of movie making. And I'm not saying that we need to do. I'm not saying that we need to do more. I don't think that I especially wouldn't want to tie down an artist to be like, yes, I want to see Guillermo del Toro remake Hammer movies. That's not at all. But what would be interesting, and I look. So there have also always, as long as probably longer than there have been movies, Dracula and Frankenstein, there have been versions for the stage. But I was thinking, and to be honest, I haven't done the research. Maybe this has been done, but it would be fun to see the Hammer vibe created, especially now with what can be done, and especially on Broadway. And there's certainly not a shortage of like franchise on Broadway. If Disney can franchise out into Broadway, why not Hammer? And wouldn't those be fun shows to go see and to go into the theater and kind of be immersed in that world? And I love when a theater, kind of hearkening back to the experience I talked about with Branagh's Macbeth, not to that extent, but like when you go into a Broadway theater and the whole, like the lobby kind of has the vibe. I can only imagine that the Stranger Things Broadway experience maybe does this. I know that there's a very successful Stranger Things Broadway show that's like, its own thing, so if we're going to have that, can we have I feel like this would actually be a really fun way to use theater and have like kind of an acting style. It's very theatrical.
Yeah.
To begin with.
You're talking, and of course, this is a very different type of thing than what you're talking about, and we've talked about this before. But like the Jekyll and Hyde musical, I think is similar in style to kind of like trying to, capture the magic of that era of monster movie.
Yes, but did not do so successfully, and I don't know
Shouldn't
that
have been a musical.
I don't think I'm right, and I'm not advocating for these to be musical adaptations.
Right.
By the way, I'm advocating for these to be stage adaptations with really lush scenery, and really be something fun for theater goers. Make it like a fun, like PG-13-ish. Like no sexual assault, like leave that, none of that, but like the vibe. I'm just talking about the vibe. And you could, you know what, if it's a success, start with The Curse of Frankenstein, and you want to then go into, repertory and do other ones. Like, why not? That would be a fun thing to look forward to. It would almost, if it was a special engagement. Broadway shows do so many special engagements to accommodate casting of A-list celebrity actors. So you could do what are they going to do this fall? What's going to be Hammer on Broadway this fall for Halloween? That would be such a fun thing to do. And it doesn't just have to be Broadway. It's something that you could do and have at other, theaters in the country and in different cities, and have the tours. And it doesn't just have to be in the fall, but I think it would be so much fun. I'd be down for that. I'd be excited to go see it. That's the type of Broadway show I would want to go, like Phantom of the Opera. I wanted Phantom of the Opera to be more like Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Right.
So give me that. Give me the music. Yes, let's still have a live orchestra, but no singing. Let's have a score, though. That would be awesome.
And the score for Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed slaps. It's so good.
Yeah. And think about it, like, especially now with the budget they have, you could do the fire.
Right.
It would look good.
Yeah.
When was the last time we saw realistic was it Backdraft? Would that be the last time we saw a realistic fire on screen? 1991.
Definitely that era.
35 years ago.
Yeah, I mean the ones I'm thinking of are pretty much all around then. Terminator 2. I mean, Backdraft, of course, is a very clear example because it's
fire-centric,
literally about fire. Yeah.
Well, I also remember seeing all the behind the scenes because they were really touting how they did it. And yeah. So,
and that's kind of my problem with things like Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is that it's all digital effects for everything, and it looks like it. And so I think that in a lot of ways he's lost the magic of doing those things where you have to use all the practical effects, and that was kind of like his strength. Was bringing you into his world. Whereas when it's digital effects the way that they are in in his Frankenstein movie, all I can see is just like how the movie's made rather than being kind of just brought into the magic of it. So that brings me to what I would do.
All right.
Because Frankenstein, a reason why there are so many Frankenstein films is because it's in public domain and it's easy to do. And for that reason, I feel like we need to say Frankensteins must be destroyed. We need to stop doing Frankenstein movies. And so what I'm thinking is there's a new movie being made about Frankenstein, and the movie that we're watching is about stopping it from being produced because we're good on Frankensteins.
Who is
right?
stopping it from being produced?
I don't know. Dracula.
The Stoker family.
Right. Well, yeah. The Shelley estate.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't see any reason.
Like, maybe just people, just fans, people who organize.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is like maybe it takes place at a horror convention, like in a convention hall, and they're announcing the brand new horror movie, and it's another Frankenstein movie, and it all takes place inside of a convention hall, and it's just all of the fans hunting down the producers and actors and director of the movie who are there to present the new trailer to stop it from being released. It's a little bit of
Jay and
Dawn of the
Silent Bob
Dead
Strike Back.
I don't remember enough about that.
They're trying to stop the Blunt Man and Chronic movie from being made.
Right. But this is an entire convention hall full of people hunting after 6 people who are fighting for their lives. It's
interesting.
You can just call it Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Or Frankenstein's,
right? Yeah. Or, Frankenstein's, but that's just kind of the whole idea of all Frankensteins must be destroyed.
Or brought to the Broadway stage.
Well,
you know who wrote a Frankenstein musical, John? Gary Cohen, director of plays and musicals at Cranford High School, where you and I both went, and we both were there, I believe, during his time, perhaps.
I think that he was before my time, but the name sounds familiar enough that I know of him. Yeah,
director of Video Violence 1, 2, and 3. There may have been more. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, so just because we're on the topic, my issue with saying Broadway show is that it is too exclusive. It's too exclusionary because Broadway, implies a geographic, spot where you can only experience it if it's there.
I mean a stage production.
So you're talking about stage production. Okay.
A lavish. Well, as I said, because what I was saying before was that you would have it wouldn't. I was specific that it wouldn't be. You could go you'd have tours. You'd have and there are multiple ways to get tickets in different cities. I mean, depending on your city's support for culture and the arts.
I definitely support live theater. However, I think that a problem with live theater is that in the world of entertainment, it is live theater is to entertainment is as golf is to sports. It's at a higher price point, and it's a lot of resources to accomplish one small thing. And because because what I'm saying is that it has to be reproduced every single time over and over again. And there's a little bit of, I know that you're going to be arguing with me about this, but I'm not saying that theater is bad. I'm just saying that to go to see live theater.
No, I'm just saying you're neglecting a lot of resources, and there's a lot of nuance. You're making a generalization, both about golf and about. No, I mean one that I am seeing disproven in real time as I see people who do not, who would not, you would not think have access or interest in such things, given provided access, and at least in the community where I live.
What I'm saying is, generally speaking, to go see live theater, it's at a higher price point than it is to typically, I'm saying generally, typically than it is to like go see a movie. And in order for live theater to happen, the actors and all the performers, the musicians, whatever else there is involved, the tech people, they have to recreate everything every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it a more challenging art form to present. And I understand that it needs to be at a higher price point in order to make it possible. In the same way that in order for golf to exist, it needs to be expensive to play it because you have to pay for all that land that the courses have and everything like that. So it makes it a little bit further out of reach for people who want to enjoy, live theater. Because there have been plenty of times where it's just like, I'd love to see this show that's coming through town, but it's like even the cheapest seats are just unaffordable. And that's just the reality of it. And there are plenty of also like, local productions going on, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I will say though, the cost of, I guess, depending on where you go to the movies, I would say unfortunately, where people have access to theater, there's often more access to less expensive movie theaters, and people who are just going to the multiplexes, that ticket price combined with all the snacks and what have you, that it's like balancing out with the theater price, especially if you're going to regional productions. And I mean, I would say I guess just I'm in a position where I have access to theater, but have seen access to lower price theater than lower price movies.
For me, in Portland, there are plenty of movie theater. There's a ton of movie theaters where you can get a ticket for under $10.
You have a lot of access to
and
that
there's also lots of live theater, which can be, for a lot of people, especially this day and age, prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's a problem.
I don't know why I'm so passionately pitching this. It is not. I mean, I honestly was thinking about, and what I should mention on my actual notes for this, because that was not at all my notes, was that I started to write, okay, it would be more of a satirical piece inspired by Frankenstein's work, a world in which people have their brains put into the bodies of dead celebrities or hot people, or is that Get Out? In all caps. That was as I'm taking the notes, I was like, oh shit, so Get Out is in so many ways the elevated version of this.
It's Get Out,
of this
it's
concept.
The substance. Like there are so many movies where it's all about, brainwashing and becoming the ideal and becoming obsessed with what's, I consider to be perfect and all that. There's, zillion.
Well, just, the idea of moving the consciousness of one person into another person's body. And, the kind of like the revolutionary science behind that, and it being used for evil purposes.
Yeah.
In more so in Get Out, in fact.
Right. Well, anyway, if anybody out there checking this show out has any ideas of how you would want to bring back any kind of Frankenstein project, if you have some idea for like a cool Frankenstein project, email us, ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. You can go to ruinchildhoodspod.com for lots of really fun stuff. You can buy some merch and help support the show. Dan, we are doing a series of movies, of episodes that have movies where the titles are a complete sentence, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed being one of them. What are we going to be covering on our next episode of this season?
Oh, on our next episode, we are taking quite a turn as we are going to 1993's Even Cowgirls Get The Blues. based on the novel by Tom Robbins, directed by Gus Van Sant, starring Uma Thurman, Lorraine Bracco, Pat Morita, Angie Dickinson, Keanu Reeves, John Hurt, Rain Phoenix, Ed Begley Jr., Carol Kane, Sean Young, Crispin Glover, appearances by Roseanne, Buck Henry, and Grace Zabriskie. I mean, so many, also so many other familiar faces come and go through this movie. Even Cowgirls Get the Blues.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, load up the movie and use those thumbs to press play on your remote and check that one out so you can join in on the fun on the next episode. But Dan, as you are hunting down Baron Victor Frankenstein, who must be destroyed, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.